بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Inshallah, today we will be moving on to the next letter, which is the letter Dal. So first thing we'll discuss is how is the letter Dal pronounced. Then we'll discuss how do you pronounce a Dal that's mutaharrik. And finally, we're going to go through how is a Dal pronounced, which is sakin, meaning it has a qalqala. So alhamdulillah, Dal is actually pretty straightforward. There will be no complications with Dal, especially since we've covered qalqala. So first thing is, how is the letter Dal pronounced? How is it pronounced? So Dal is pronounced when contact is made between two parts of the mouth. What are those parts? Number one is the front of the tongue. That's the first part. And next is the roots of the upper front teeth. And this is the exact same thing that we do for the letter ta. So if we remember from the letter ta, this is the exact same position. So ta and dal are pronounced from the exact same area. They both involve the front of the tongue touching the roots of the upper front teeth. So right here, so the tongue is here and it's touching this area right here. It's not down here, it's not up here, it's right here in this area. So when it's touching that, that's where the letter dal comes out from. One thing to note is the back of the tongue should remain at rest. If someone tries to move the middle or the back of their tongue while pronouncing a dal, it will actually end up producing either a heavy dal or it will pronounce a ta. So if you keep your tongue right on this spot, but then your back of your tongue kind of rises, instead of a dal, you'll actually pronounce a ta. A ta will actually come out. Or if you still mess up, it might even be a heavy dal, a dal. One of those may happen. So that's as simple as a dal gets. This is a pretty simple letter with not many complications. Next thing is dal that has a haraka. When dal has a haraka, very simple. You place your tongue on that area on the roots of the upper teeth, and then you release it. And when you release it, you make the motion for whichever haraka you want to use, whether it's a fatha, dhamma, or kasra. So for example, dahaha. So with the fatha, da. So when you release your tongue, you'll make the motion for a fatha, da, dahaha. Then if you want to make a dhamma, same thing. When you release the tongue from that area, you'll make the motion for a dhamma, yaqudumu, du, dumu, yaqudumu. So do, da, do. And finally, a kasra, which is lowering your jaws, the lower jaws much more. So D. So you release that tongue and then you make the motion for the kasra. Dima'akum. So D. D. So da, do, D. However, when da is sakin, when dal is sakin, you have to release the tongue but not make any motion for any haraka. So in most letters, when the letter is sakin, you do not release the tongue or wherever area the sound is coming from. For example, we did, I believe, kha yesterday. When you do kha, you don't release that area. You stick to it. When you do ha, you stick to it. So in most letters, you stick to that same area and you do not move off of it. You do not release it. And when they're sakin, you do not release it. But the letters of qalqala, you have to release them. All the letters of qalqala, inshallah, we cover ta and then also the letter kaf, which are actually known as there are some specific letters that have something called hums. But anyway, so when you say dal that is sakin, what's going to happen is, since dal is a letter of qalqala, you'll end up making a sound of that qalqala too. What will happen is, instead of reciting it normally, you'll basically tap that area that's on the roots of your teeth. So your tongue is simply going to tap the roots of your upper teeth to pronounce the dal. So let's go through a few examples, inshallah. So first one is if there is a fatha before it. Laylatul qadri. Qad. So you're tapping it. Qadri. With the dhamma, mudhammatan. So mud. And the third one is the example of a kasra, midrara. So mid. mid. In these three examples, what should not happen is in the first example, you have to make sure there is no fatha sound. It should be qad, qad. It should not turn into qada, qada, laylatul qadari. That would be wrong because you're not supposed to do a fatha. In the second example, there shouldn't be no dhamma sound. It's mud. It shouldn't be mudu. Muduham, mudu. Some people do that. When they do a qalqala, they follow the haraka that's right before it. So it shouldn't be muduhamatan, mud. Mudhamatan. Third one shouldn't be, it should be midrara, not midi, not midi with a kasra, midirara. Again, some people when they do a qalqala, they give a haraka to it, but that means they're moving their mouth too much. You should not make any haraka. All three of these should sound exactly the same. They should all be the. Laylatul qad, mud, mid. If they're sounding like qada, mudu, and midi, that means you're making the motion for a haraka, which is incorrect. Last example is when you're stopping at the end of an ayah, which is still mentioned the same way. Qul huwallahu ahad. Ahad. Right? Ahad. And that is the letter dal. So inshallah, maybe on the weekend we could do more than one letter at a time. But this is all that is there to the dal. Alhamdulillah, right now we're going through the easy letters. The next complicated letter will probably be a ra, inshallah. That will require a bit of extra information. So we'll end off here. And inshallah, tomorrow we'll continue with the next letter. Subhanakallahum